Hey, welcome to the Recalibrate Conference podcast. My name is Malcolm Tyree, and I'm the host. I'm joined by my guy, Efrain Cirilo, who's the director of the Recalibrate Network. Also by his glorious sidekick here, Phil. We're glad to have you guys here today. Today, we're going to be talking about this dynamic of how do we make the most of our summer, particularly with teenagers and youth ministry. They're out of school. They have free time on their hands. They're watching a lot of Netflix, playing a lot of video games, scrolling endlessly through whatever their favorite social media platform is. And so there's a lot that goes on. Phil, you're active in youth ministry right now. You've been doing this for a number of years, but also you're not that far removed from those high school days, as opposed to me, who like 30 years plus all the gray shows. Just give us a sense as to kind of, what first of all, what do you think that teenagers are doing in their summertime? Because like when I was in high school, I got a job, and I know that the market necessarily isn't opening up for high schoolers to have a summer job anymore. What do you see teenagers doing during the summer? And maybe where can disciple makers who want to make disciples, who make disciples, where can we engage? What can we do?
Well, first off, the back pain that I'm feeling would say I'm further removed in high school than
that older Gen Z.
Getting up there, man. I'm almost 30. So it's getting real.
Wow.
But no, what we do know about high schoolers in the summer and junior higher is that, one, they lose all track of a sleeping schedule.
Sleep schedule shot.
Sleeping schedule's out the window, so don't schedule any events in the morning.
Define morning, because right now it's about noon when we're recording this, and I know for you, we had you show up at 10.
This is still morning time for that track. We're talking post lunch, like post late lunch,
late lunch. So make sure you got some hobbits and you have second lunch and all those sort of things.
But like you said, I think still in today's culture, there is still a good mix of students that pursue different things in the summer. You have the ones that they use it as an opportunity to work. They get the job, summer job. You have the ones that it's their training session, everything, whatever sport they're in, they're in the off season. So they're locking in. And then you have the ones that are just enjoying the summer for what it is. They just hang out with their friends and they do what they want whenever they want it. And so I think the big thing is, offering a variety of activities that isn't killing you as a leader or as a mentor, but just making sure that anything you have planned in the summer is not always the same thing over and over again. Now, there's things that go really well that you might want to repeat more consistently, but at least from what I've noticed, a lot of the things that start in the summer oftentimes bleed outside of the summer. And so the summer is really just a good time to experiment and see how things go, because it's a loose schedule. They can stay out a little later if they want. And so, it's a good opportunity.
Let's check in with a dad of teenagers real quick here. My guy over here, Efrain, you got two teenagers at home and one gonna be preteen or is a preteen.
Yes.
There. So let's just check in real quick, as a parent. All right. What are maybe some expectations or hopes that you have that, your teenagers can experience during the summer from the church or from a disciple maker?
Yeah, no, for sure. Summertime is just a time where, school is not in session, so they have this free time, unless they're working, of course. So we encourage our teenagers to make sure that, they're doing something productive.
Not just spending your money, but making some money would be nice.
Yeah, that would be great, yes. Showing them some responsibility and some financial management. But no, for sure, as a parent, I will say that one of the things that we would love for them to continue to lean into is just growing in Christ. Making it a spiritual habit, a daily habit of reading scripture, prayer, listening to worship, some of those things that, man, over the summertime, maybe doing a Bible reading plan that we can do as a family together. And so, those are some of the things that as a parent, I would love to see from my children. And so I know that one of the things, it's been great to see too, them develop in their relationship with God. The other day, my kids are getting up early to go to school, and I heard music coming out of the bathroom.
Turn that stuff down.
Yeah. And I go over, I was like, wow, music. It's like 6 a.m. What's going on? And I go over, and it's worship music.
No.
And I'm like, wow, that's
You're
great.
gonna pound
Yeah, and as a,
maybe not so
and
hard.
as a dad, I'm like, yes, that's awesome. Like I love that because they're doing it on their own. It's not this, all right, it's family time where we're going to read scripture, do devotion. Is like they're just doing it on their own. The same thing with my son actually just started reading scripture on his own, right? And he would come to me with questions. Hey, Dad, what does this mean? Or hey, I was reading through John and I saw this. And deep down inside, I was like, yes, thank you, Lord. Like, that's my prayer. That's our prayer as parents. And so, but yeah, leading into that in the summer months, that is not just because they unplug from school and there aren't that many sport events and things like that over the summer, but that they could really lean into their spiritual.
And I think that's where it gets difficult because, as you mentioned just a little bit, Phil, a student's rhythm during the summer is so disrupted.
Yeah.
And so much of spiritual formation is a rhythmic, exercise.
Yeah.
And because they don't have necessarily a time to get up in the morning or the afternoon, because they don't necessarily have a required bedtime. Maybe their parents are just like, hey, just whenever, or they're, it's just like, so long as you're in your room, they could stay up to 3, 4. I mean, I know when I was a teenager during the summer years, I'd go over to a friend's house and we're up till 4 in the morning and waking up at 3 in the afternoon, those kind of components. and there's that break in the rhythm, which can disrupt spiritual development.
Well, I think even on the contrary, I feel like it's really a space where you can set the rhythms that you want to see throughout the school year. Like you have to view it as a building block for the school year. And it's really important, at least what I've noticed, is like to get started early. As soon as summer starts, like, all right, what are we doing? Have your summer planned out so that they're able through the course of 3 months to really develop new rhythms and new discipleship tactics that will bleed into the school year. In the school year, it's really hard to, try to get them to set a rhythm when they're focused on their homework or
so
practice.
Borrowing a little bit from what you said earlier about the athlete engaged in the off-season training so that way that they're ready for the season. Maybe as the church, we can recognize this is an off-school season, but how can we help them prep for the school season? That's good. But then you were also kind of alluding to that, like, have a plan of how you're going to engage the teens for the summer. So let me just weigh in there. When should a church start, or when should a disciple maker start planning for how they're going to disciple a teen through the summer? I mean, should they start that May 31st, put that plan together on May 31st?
No. But
have you ever done that? Have you ever put the plan together?
If you don't have a plan, then you can start May 31st.
Okay,
You rather start one than don't start one. No, I think it's always good to be ahead of the game as soon as you can. And sometimes when you're operating a ton of different things, you are stuck waiting the week before to finalize some plans. But on a good, from a good, healthy planning, I would recommend, 6 months prior, like have your game plan for the summer ready in January. And it's something that I'm definitely excited for our summer as a youth director here at Wake, because I have some exciting plans, and again, not everything is to fruition. I don't have exactly from beginning to end, but learning from past mistakes, or not even mistakes, but just past lack of planning
Or missed opportunities.
Or missed opportunities. Seeing what we could have did here, that we missed out on. You're able to learn every single year, and I think the most important thing is for them to start. If you're a youth director or a youth pastor, or you're just in charge of the youth during the summer, like, just start planning. You don't have to have it perfect, but think if your goal and your job is to 2 events a month, then start planning that right now, after listening to this. And yeah, it doesn't have to be perfect, but
So I love that you're saying it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be completed, but we got to have an idea of where we're going for some big arching goals and those sort of things. And so again, checking back in with a dad here. Okay.
Yeah.
As a dad, and maybe you want to speak more for your wife, who's not here, unfortunately, to weigh in on this, but as parents, how much do you want an advance notice of what the summer schedule is going to be, so that maybe you can plan family outings and vacation and the things that happen during the summertime?
No, it's important to have that schedule because, teenagers' schedules over the summer can be very hectic, especially if they're involved in athletics or sports. So my son plays football, and down here in Texas, they begin in June. So the football schedule,
I didn't know football season stopped in Texas.
Yeah, that's right. So June, July, August, they're prepping for the fall.
My kids were in marching band, and it
season.
was June and July and August.
And so having that, and then you also have families that go on vacation, family trips, missions trips. So having that schedule ahead of time, the family could actually put the dates in their calendar. Everybody knows, all right, here's what's going to happen. Like Wednesday night is youth night. We're not scheduling anything else Wednesday nights because that's youth night.
So you've made that a priority. So we're not going to schedule.
So we circle it, and there you go. And so if parents know that ahead of time, they're able to put those dates in the calendar and just prioritize what's important.
Yeah. And so there's typically during summertime, there is this idea of kids are going to go on vacation with their family, but there's also this opportunity that kids get to go on a bit of a vacation without their family or without parts of their family, maybe, as they go to like summer camp and those kind of experiences. I know this year Recalibrate Network is hosting a summer camp program. Phil, you're serving as the director for that. And we've got several churches that are already stepping into that. When should churches be communicating the dates of that summer camp?
As soon as you can.
As soon as you hear this podcast, please make sure that you are telling your church.
Some of y'all that are coming have already got the dates out to your students. But just like Efrain's saying, like one of the worst things as a youth director is like, whenever you're like, hey, you should come to camp this summer, and you tell them the dates, and they're like, oh, we have a family vacation planned that week, and it's like, I should have got this earlier, so that you could have known the dates. And so the important thing is getting those dates out. You don't have to have all the details, but I told my students this year, the earliest that I've ever told them, our camp dates, I told them it was in December. Like I told them the camp dates.
So you gave them almost 6 months notice.
Yeah. 6 months. And again, it all comes back to, if you haven't already, then go ahead and do it. But the earlier you can, with the summer, the earlier you can announce dates, is a huge win. And again, this is all based on like, how big the scope of the event is. Obviously, for something like youth camp or something that is a multi-day event, you want to get those dates out as soon as you possibly can.
So maybe if we could say it like this: if it's a multi-day event, they need multi-month notice.
Yes, that's
right. Just that if it's going to be and maybe even correspond it with the number of days that the event's going to be gone. That's how many months notice they need.
Yeah.
Right. So if summer camp is 5 days, then they need at least 5 months notice that that's coming up. That might be a way to kind of help us, memorize that and hold to that practice there. Let's talk a little bit about summer camp. Why do you feel, Phil, that Phil, why do you feel, Phil? Phil, why do you believe that summer camp is a tremendous opportunity in the life of a teenager, whether they go to church or they don't go to church? Or maybe a better way to say, why is church summer camp a tremendous opportunity in the life of a teenager, whether they go to church or do not go to church?
Yeah, I think, the easiest thing to say is like, when you see the life change happen with your own eyes, it will change your perspective on everything. And so, to have students that signed up for camp a week before because we found them a scholarship, and then they're not regular Wednesday night attendees, but all of a sudden their life has changed at camp. and it just wrecks their life for the better, and now all of a sudden they're following Christ wholeheartedly. It's really easy.
We planned this out for 6 months. We can't take a last minute kid, can we?
No, you absolutely can. If you've planned for it as a leader, you've set out a certain number of spots, and you were able to,
But that one more kid could throw your whole transportation off. one more kid. I got a 60 passenger bus and I got 61 kids going. Where's that one kid gonna
You gotta squeeze. Hey, scoot over. Get the sixth graders to squeeze in tight.
Yeah.
The rookies, they gotta.
So camp is a place of life change,
and that's just from the singular person, viewing one story. What I've seen from a youth ministry, the family culture vibes that a camp or an off-site retreat, the family atmosphere and culture that those type of events create is something that you really can't replicate from a normal service. And you can get close, we have small groups and that helps, but it's something about getting away from the everyday life, going to somewhere that's a little bit different, that's off-site, and just allowing God to do what only he can do, that really just creates something amongst students and even adults too. The excitement that some of our leaders have to want to be involved because of what God did at youth camp is pretty awesome to see.
I think camp is a great experience in the sense that it gives a taste of what the community of God can be like. It gives a foretaste of heaven, because we're not just showing up at an event where we're carrying all of the extra baggage of the day, or we've got the dynamic of coming to church where you had the fight in the car and then you're doing the walk through the magic golden arch doors and all of a sudden, hey, how you doing? But it's the dynamic of which, particularly by like day 2.5 of camp, people go, wait a second, I'm living with these people. And the tensions of life are let go. And there's like, I'm eating with these people, and I'm, using the showers next to these people, and I'm sleeping in the same space, and I'm living with these people. And I think that's a huge part of why camps and retreats can be so significant, because again, it's not just we're together for 90 minutes.
Yeah.
But it's like we're together, we're walking the road, we're going from this activity to the next activity. And there's it almost has this Deuteronomy 6, kind of concept. It's like, when you wake and when you sleep, when you're on the road and when you sit down to eat, that this sense in which we can pass along aspects of faith in a very different way. And I think that's why many people feel like a bonding that occurs at a camp or a retreat, and maybe even why some camp romances get us in trouble, because we're like, oh, we're together too long. But fortunately, maybe those things can be worked out. But beyond the camp romance, what are some other things that maybe we should be looking for on the backside of a youth camp experience, when kids and students are coming home from camp? What are some things that we should be expecting to hear, or maybe what are some things that we should be expecting to do to support what they've been a part of?
Yeah, I mean, I think having the resources available post camp is huge, from a sense of like, okay, we just had a great week of camp, and for a lot of students, when it's their first time, it's like it's heart crushing to leave camp and then you go back to,
I don't want to go home.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and even leaders still feel that, I don't want to go back to work. post camp depression. But yeah, making sure that you have resources available, and more important than that, just making sure to your leaders and even your student leaders that you've communicated, like, hey, there's going to be a shift in energy, and as leaders we have to make sure that we're keeping that energy level high. I know for some of you, you've done this before, and so the lull that can fall when you come back to camp. But there's a lot of students, this is their first time, and we want to show them like, hey, camp is over, but the same hype and excitement that you had about God at camp is what it's supposed to be like every single week. And so, yeah, just communicating with your leaders ahead of time, making sure like when we come back, like this is where the real life change happens. You know, we had a great encounter at camp, but that relationship that you built with so-and-so where he opened up or she opened up and shared stuff that, you know, they've never shared before. Now you get to disciple them daily, weekly. And so, yeah, just, you know, making sure that you choose the correct leaders to come alongside you. And sometimes, you know, you don't have much of a choice. You need a chaperone.
Gotta have somebody.
But having the pre-camp meeting with your leaders to let them know the expectations.
Yeah, let's talk a couple things about that. You know, so a pre-camp meeting.
Yes.
What's that?
That is something where you have to take the child protection video.
Okay, so
quiz.
child protection policy, safety training and those sort of things. But what are some other things maybe that, you know, whether you're going with the, you know, is it like, say you're the leader of the church and you're sending students to camp, what are some things that you should say to the adult chaperones who are going along on that trip? Other than you know, hey, here's the rules of, you know, you don't share bed, you don't, hang out in the showers with them and those sort of things. But what are some things maybe more in the dynamic of not the protection of the child, but in the guidance of the student? I
mean, a big thing that we always like to hit on is reminding them that yes, it's fun. Yes, it may feel like it's a vacation because you're getting away, but in reality, you're serving while you're there. Like you're on mission. And
wait, say that again. You're on mission.
Yes,
I mean, so like camp could be like a mission trip for a chaperone.
Camp that's exactly what it could be. That's exactly what it should be viewed at from a mindset of a chaperone. That you're gonna have fun, you're gonna enjoy a lot of the aspects of camp, but your heart needs to be set in the right place where you are there to simply serve the students. You're there to simply love on the students.
But I was there because the food, or not that. I was there for all the extra sleep,
and it's you know, it's not a perfect science. There are some leaders that will come, you know, initially for the wrong reasons. And if it's a leader's first time going, you know, sometimes that little kid excitement is there, and they're like, oh, I can't wait for the midweek concert, or I've seen the videos of the silent disco, like I've heard it's so fun.
Or maybe even, you know, just weigh in here real quick. When you're asking adults to come in, like, do you think that there's like a minimum age that the adult should be? Like, in other words, if you just graduated high school the year before and you want to go back to youth camp, so that, you know, like, I'm 19, I want to go to youth camp because I want to go to youth camp.
Those are the perfect people that I love to get.
Okay.
One, to keep them connected in the community. I know when that transition from high school to college is oftentimes where you see a lot of Christ followers can slip away from their faith or walk away. So number one, just to keep them plugged in. But number two, from what I found, and you know, every student is different, so I can't speak for all of them, but I feel like students tend to lean into vulnerability a little bit more the younger that age gap is between them.
Hey, man, you're making me feel really guilty on that, because, like, I mean,
I think it's a part of, as the leader and the visionary of a youth ministry, to make sure that you're choosing, you know, the right leaders to go with you. It's not all on your back. I can't connect with all 300 students that show up to the camp. But if I can make sure that I'm choosing the right leaders, and it doesn't have to be the 18-year-old, the 19-year-old that just graduated. Sometimes a student wants to open up to, you know, somebody that has a little bit more wisdom in their life. And so
that was generous too. You could have just said somebody with gray hair.
Well, I'm saying, like, yeah, but at the core of it, you want to choose the right leaders. And even going back to the pre-camp meeting, you want to make sure that every leader you're meeting, whether it's the 19-year-old that is their first college summer, the 21-year-old that just started serving in youth ministry and this is their first time, or it's the 35-year-old that has done youth ministry their entire life and they're excited. Every summer before camp or before any big youth event, you want to make sure that they know the expectation, they know that they're there to serve, and that they're in the right mindset, and that over the course of time, if it's not initially there, that their heart gets to a spot where it understands they're there on the mission field.
So really,
regardless.
really painting it well. So that's the pre-camp experience, and I think camp is a tremendous opportunity to kind of having that encounter where there's the chance to change. So what are maybe two things that you think for the person who's listening to this call, whether they're a leader or the pastor or they're just somebody for whatever reason jumped on board, what do you think that they need to think about in the post-camp?
Yeah.
All right, two things maybe that you can keep in mind in the post-camp experience.
Number one is, I say internship, it sounds daunting, but some form of student leadership development, whatever that looks like. When you go to camp, you'll see the family vibes, and you'll be able to sort of identify students within your youth group that, have that tangible leadership.
So look for the leader and then come in and come alongside that leader to develop their leapership better.
Exactly.
Okay?
And it might be in your context, it might be one-on-one. It might be you have a group of 6 students that you want to grow deeper, or you have a group of 20 students that are ready to take that next step in their ministry development. And so having some course of action designed for your youth ministry, for the next steps of leadership development post camp, because they're on fire, they're excited, and more importantly than all of that, in the context and the time frame of post camp, they want more of Jesus.
Yeah, that's really good.
And so having those next available steps, I know, like I'm saying, for us here at Wake, it's having some type of internship where students come up to the church once a week.
Wait, you mean you can have like junior high and high school students be interns at your church?
You can, yes. And it goes back to, on a different podcast episode where you're talking about having students run social media and stuff. Students just want to serve, man, when they're excited, and you get the opportunity to develop that with them post camp. And so our post event, I don't want it to just lean on camp,
because it's not just camp. It's anytime you get away.
I think it bleeds over to any type of event, making sure you have some course of action set for leadership development.
That's excellent. So, all right, we're running short on time, so I just want to ask a question to you, and then I got a question to E. But like, how do you, as the leader, if you've gone to camp and you've got all this expectation of post camp, how do you get your recharge? What does the leader need to think about with regards to their recharge, so that way they're bringing best energy in? God created the world in 6 days, and on the 7th day he rested.
Yeah.
Oh, how we in American church don't rest.
Yeah, 100%. You're going to want to run. I think the most important thing, which I've learned now, is planning, having that set aside. For me, it looks like youth camp. We have a youth camp after party, and then I'm going to take a short little break before, going full steam ahead for the rest of the summer, because you do want to build on the momentum. You don't want to come into the situation unprepared, because you're going to be exhausted after any big event. If you put the effort and intentionality that we're talking about here, that exhaustion will come. And so I think it's about making sure that you plan for that rest, that you're smart about it, and you are strict about it as well. Setting aside that time, it's important, man. And I always say, like, if you're doing the right thing and you're doing what God called you to do, there will be an unexplainable rest that happens oftentimes. And it's something I can't explain.
Sure.
There's times
there's a rejuvenation that comes from the Spirit coming alongside.
There's times after a Wednesday night, or where we stayed up here all day, set up, tore down, had a great youth service, and I'll get, not to say this is every time, but I'll get like 5 to 6 hours of sleep and wake up the next morning and just feel like, man, I feel great. Like,
right. I mean, that was me. I had a great Sunday, and I woke up at 3 a.m. this morning, and there is a 3 a.m. in the morning that you can wake up to, not one that you're going to bed to, just to clarify.
I'm on the contrary.
Hey, you just want to check in here as a senior leader. How can a senior leader, senior pastor, or a board member, elder, or something like that, how can they come alongside and support this concept, this idea of discipleship of students through the summer, including things like youth camp? What do they need to voice? What do they need to say?
Yeah, youth camp is such an igniter for these students to really just pursue Christ. I know that as students come back from camp, they're on fire. And so they're wanting to learn more. You'll see them in the front row of the church, like hands raised, worshiping Jesus, which is just great. I've heard of a church out in East Texas, actually, that went from youth camp to, they had to put together a winter retreat because the students were calling for it. They were like, man, we need more of what we experience at youth camp. It's not that it's the end all be all, but it's such a great catalyst and igniter for students to, want to pursue Christ. So, and actually this church has been baptizing students every Sunday.
If it's the church I'm thinking of, they have students baptizing students.
Students baptizing students, disciples making disciples, right? And so that has just ignited revival within their own local church that, they are just doing a great job. They're just excited. And it all started from their experience at youth camp. So if you're a senior leader, if you're a pastor out there and you're looking to ignite or infuse passion in your next generation, or if you want to start a next gen, a youth student ministry, youth camp is a great opportunity for you to kickstart it.
It's a catalyst.
It's a great catalyst to begin just that process of getting students to be passionate about Jesus, because the Holy Spirit does a great work at camp, and Phil and his team, they do such a great job. And over the past however many years, you've seen students getting baptized, expressing a call to ministry, confessing sin, students praying over one another. It's just a powerful event that will, just spark a movement in your next generation. So yes, if you're out there, I want to encourage you, sign up, register, be a part of this. July 12th through the 16th.
2025.
2025.
Join the waiting list.
Yeah, join the waiting list. Churches are gaining momentum.
Be
churches
ready for 2026. We're already thinking about how we can do this.
Again, summer can be a catalyst for the life change in a student's life, and summer lays the foundation for what your fall and winter can be like. And as part of the Recalibrate Network, we just want to encourage you to be intentional about what you're doing and raising up students to be disciples of Jesus. And if you are in a position where you don't have the knowledge base or the resources or the understanding, reach out to us as part of the Recalibrate Network. We'll come alongside you. That's part of what we're here for, because we believe that we're making disciples who make disciples, and a lot of that occurs with the next generation. Thanks for being on this call today.